Traditionally, people didn't necessarily go to school for 10 years like we did. So they came out of high school, they got a job. But we were told, go to school, get a good education, and then you'll get a good job. So now we're 30 years old, our parents tell us you're 30 years old, you're an adult, and we're like, whoa, I just got out of school. And because of that insular experience of 10 years of school, which is real life but a very different version, we're ill-prepared for the next stage. And that's the problem.
You don't even get a chance to start accomplishing things until later. And yet you're judging yourself and your accomplishments earlier.
Just really felt like I was constantly in a state of flux. Been teaching for 3 years and have a car and looking into a house, and it's funny because I feel almost weird compared to most of my friends who are still kind of searching.
The contract work and things like that, where you don't really feel like it's yours. You're there to fill in not fill in the time, but to do your job, get paid, and then that's all that's expected.
I knew what I wanted to do, but it was a question of convincing other people to take a chance on me and give me the opportunity.
Growing up Filipino, they expect a lot of girls to be nurses, and I still get that a lot from my parents. Well, why don't you go back to school? Why don't you be a nurse? Why don't you go into this? But I have no desire to go into nursing.
I kind of feel like I haven't really established a life because I'm still in school.
Like, I didn't go to university at all. I went right into activism and working. And I've learned so much from my jobs. I think I probably learned much more about politics than I would have if I'd taken some kind of major in political science. I worked for the election, and that was more than full-time. That was like, I didn't go home sometimes for days and days. But then I haven't worked since then for a few months now.
It was totally a good year. I got fired from my job. I was an art director at a magazine, and which I am now, but this time it's my own magazine. But I was working for a big fat publishing company, and I guess I kind of grew out of the job, and I didn't care. So when I didn't care, I wasn't doing good work. It was a very liberating experience being able to go out on my own and do the work that I do, kind of live life on my own terms. It's an autobio comic, so I draw about the strange, crazy people I meet in my life, more or less, which includes Mez.
So why do you think things have changed?
There was this sort of neo-right conservatism that Canada imported from the United States, and it was also very fashionable at one time, and still is amongst a certain group of people, obviously. But we imported that neo-conservative mentality, cut taxes to the bone, reduce government to the point of where it's incapable of providing for the needs of its citizens. And I think it's a failed philosophy. And the garbage in the street, and the unemployed, and the marginalized people, and the working poor, and the lack of opportunities for that generation of 29-year-olds are all symptoms of that failed philosophy.
I don't know, every day I'm pretty depressed about it, and every day I try and say to myself, well, okay, so I can't do this and I can't do that, but what can I do? And how can I make something of my own that will be of use and that will pay this fucking rent while at the same time not killing my spirit?
How do these young people who have very little job security, therefore don't really have the opportunity to plan for their future, may lack the optimism about what's going to happen in the future? How do they take on, a $400,000 responsibility? I can't see how they do it.
I think all of our parents are starting to understand that too. Like initially, it was this tough love, pull up your socks approach. You're 30, you're 29, you're 28, you know, get on with it. And yet we're all going, trying, if you could just give me a roadmap around how to do that. And now our parents are starting to recognize that it isn't that we aren't mature. We're mature in a bunch of ways that they weren't mature.
So my parents are treating me with more respect. Maybe because they realize that I'll be taking care of them soon. So they're like, oh, we better be nice to him. But they actually seem to not only trust my judgment a little bit more about my life, but they've actually asked me for advice about their life, which is a total reversal from just constantly criticizing me and being like, you don't know what you're doing, and we're older, we know what's best for you, you know, don't give your sperm to anyone, get a job. And now they're actually like asking me for advice on things, so that's a huge change.
I think what I've encountered is a cynicism. And sometimes cynicism is even used as a rationalization because they don't protest. I don't see this generation being very political about where they're at. They don't seem to really get angry. They just seem to get cynical. And I think cynicism is a dead end. I'd rather see them get angry, get involved.
That was kind of a grown-up way to be involved in politics, right?
Federal
Federal elections. So you start, when you become an activist, you start by like throwing stuff and yelling, and then it just becomes more and more structure. You start working with people and working with nonprofits, working with activist organizations, and the kind of highest point of selling out and watering down your politics is to get involved with a political party. Yeah, I was working in the election, and that was kind of a sellout thing to do. But I made a lot of money.
This is completely personal and cultural and social. Like, it's how we interpret the pressure that society puts on you. That's part of the problem that we have here. That society says this, that at 30 you're an adult and you're supposed to have a house and a job. But the reality is none of us do. And we know that because I'm talking to you and I'm talking to everybody else. We all sit here and know this, and yet we still internalize it all the time.
From what I've heard, it just seemed so much simpler, you know. They got married when they were young, and they found their jobs, and I mean, they may have switched jobs here and there and moved from South America to here, but that actual crisis of not knowing what to do, I don't know that they've experienced that.
I find it very easy when I have no choice. It's very easy to accept when there's no choice.
Well, yeah, but I guess you could probably say that of all North American culture. Probably maybe Western culture, we're probably all relatively overeducated, probably all spoiled. We all have too much choice.
I don't think that you would have a lot of people worrying about that in a community that is mainly trying to struggle with a super high unemployment rate or something, because the people in that community are probably saying, if I can get a job, I'd be happy, right? And of course, I'd be thinking that too if I was in that scenario.
The money that my parents worked or that my dad worked so hard to earn has allowed me to have all of these opportunities.
I don't think people make use of their options enough. I mean, there's so many options, and people are just kind of going, I think every day I think, I could be doing this, I could be doing that.
It's the turning point of when something major is going to happen. You know, if you make the decision now, it seems as though that's going to be your decision for life.
I think we can all say to some degree that there is a little bit of a race to, you know, finish your degrees, to get, you know, investments down, to get your first car.
I'm at a point where I feel a little bit too old to be sort of with my hat in hand, groveling a little bit.
I don't want to turn 50 and say, what did I do with